like to thank everyone for the extensive staff presentation, and I will now open the public hearing. City Clerk, are there any registered speakers?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. I believe Mr. Graham's going to read the names, and then at the end, I will call out to the Zoom call since we have Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick participating remotely.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do just want to make one clarification. All written comments and materials received during this public hearing will be part of the administrative record. With that, I think it will be fitting to call those who have had multiple speakers yield their time. They speak on behalf of groups of residents. And we have a speaker here who has been to, I think, every city council meeting in the last 5 months. Ms. Benza has 15 minutes.
And that's because Joe's made me come. He says, as our district council member. Thank you all, mayor, council members, city staff, and everybody else here in the community. Can everybody hear me? No? Uh-oh. Well, I'm doing the best I can. Okay, I originally had a presentation that I would like to present. The city staff never responded to me to do a presentation. I would love to be afforded 45 minutes to do the same that we gave Rialto and Newland Capital. However, I got 15 minutes, so I'll get going. Community outreach. We have had little to no community outreach from Newland Capital regarding this project or the Kirby project in Hemet. We had virtually no awareness until October of 24, while the project app came in November of 22. So 2 good years. On November 9th, one of the staff for Newland Capital canvassed our community and handed out brochures, little glossy 5x8 brochures, very cute, very pretty. Spoke to, I think, and I'm sure Tom can correct me, 9 people in our community. Wow. I know you dropped it to 27 base. Okay, my apologies. At any rate, I was one of the houses he stopped at. I was out of town at the time. What I'd like to continue to say is there's no outreach here. They've not contacted the staff. We've had no town hall meeting. We've had nothing to speak to a project of over 1.1 million square feet that's eroding the Dominagoti Hills, that's eroding the gateway to Hemet. When you come down Dominagoti Freeway at this point, you see a beautiful landscaping, the Dominagoti Hills. You get past that, you get to Diamond Valley Lake. It's gorgeous. People I know come from all over and say, geez, that's not the reputation I see in Hemet. Now we're gonna look at a large warehouse with a sign saying welcome to Hemet, and all they're gonna see is a large warehouse. They're not gonna see the sign saying welcome to Hemet. And they're not gonna think of Hemet like they do today when they come through the gateway to Hemet. It's just not gonna happen. Back to the community development. I probably should not throw these people under the bus when I'm gonna do that. The farm community there has advised us, they came to a city council meeting, and they were since served with a letter, a structure, an injunction saying you can no longer go to those meetings, you can't talk about it, you can't protest this project without being evicted the very same day. Well, really? Is that the type of partner we want in Hemet? I don't think so. Is it the type of partner that we want in Hemet that does not speak to, does not come to the community, knowing the opposition has been since goodness knows when? Why aren't they here? Why haven't they come to town halls? They're here today. The only reason I got a hold of the extended community benefits was because my council member knew that if this was presented today and I didn't know about it, that we would be up in arms. We're talking about the new benefits that they since have brought to the plate since the Planning Commission denied the project. Resoundingly, 0 to 5, denied the project. Had that not happened, these additional benefits would not be here for our city. Thank goodness for the Planning Commission, thank goodness for the community and stepping up and saying, wait a minute. Yes, we've got money put away, we're coming towards the Warren Road project, but that wasn't intended for this warehouse. It's not intended for trucks. There are no services for the truckers out there. The nearest gas station is at Florida and Warren, right? Or down the road in Winchester, so all the sales tax will go to Winchester or other cities. It won't be coming to Warren. It won't be coming to Hemet. So what is that? How are they gonna get their services? Where will those employees eat their lunch? I'm glad the developer has extended the track, the beautification of their project, because that's all their employees are gonna have time to do. I don't know if they get a half hour for lunch or an hour for lunch, but getting into the heart of Hemet to get a meal in a half hour, it's unheard of. People making $55,000 a year, which is proposed here, they're not spending money out on lunch. They're not buying lunch. If you live in Hemet, the economic benefit of shopping in Hemet is already here. So if you're living in Hemet, the money's already here. If you're being employed outside of Hemet, we're not gonna see the economic benefit. The tax is spent, I believe it was $41,000 a year. That would be the direct benefit of the employees spending their time and their money here, the economic benefit. That's not a lot of money when you look at this project and all the maintenance that we're gonna have to do. I'd like to also mention that the Newland Kirby project did not receive an environmental report. I find that outrageous, that we used an environmental report from 2012, which was part of the general plan. This is a $1.1 million warehouse. We've never done that square footage here in Hemet. Why would we not want to look at current information on the environmental, on the results of the traffic? And now we're looking at adding another 1.1 million. We have 6.6 million square foot in the pipeline. Have we looked at the aggregate effect to the community, to the environment of the new traffic? We can't get anywhere in Hemet right now. We've done some really good things. The Wentworth project, it's fitting for where it belongs. It's manufacturing. It brings money to Hemet, sales tax to Hemet, right? What about Vallarta? Amazing. Our community is asking for services. They're not asking for logistics or distribution services. We have that today, but this is what the project will bring. The best use of the property is currently mixed use. I contend that it remains to be mixed use. That fits with typically pedestrian-friendly development. It blends with the commercial, cultural, institutional, or industrial uses. It fosters community design. It fosters community engagement, which we don't have here. We will not get from the logistics builder. From, pardon me, Rialto, no negative things about Rialto, but I just don't see how we're gonna get the engagement. I don't see it. It also conflicts with the West Hemet District Planning, which we have in the general plan. The area was part of an urban renewal case study envisioning dynamic and sustainable mixed-use planning for the subject area. Among other principles that are contemplated, the general plan notes that the land use planning and circular planning will be coordinated by creating connections between land uses by bicycle and transit. We're not gonna get that here. We don't have it. We should not allow this to happen. The truck routes, we've talked about that. The project says 45% up Warren, which is a truck route. It says 40% up Simpson Road. It is not a truck route. The other 15% goes down Warren to Dominagoni, so up Dominagoni. The Warren Bridge is a 30-year-old bridge. Yes, as the gentleman mentioned, we do have a project underway. We have a planning and assessment period. It's gonna take 2 years, and then 5 years. The project calls for Esplanade to Stetson first, Stetson to Warren next, and then the bridge. You're talking possibly 7 to 10 years, if you all approve it when we get the planning and the assessment. You're talking about 2 to 7 years down the road. What will everything cost? What will it cost for labor? What will it cost for roads? What will it cost to do the bridge? All lumber, steel, the whole kit and caboodle. Our economy is volatile, right? Think tariffs. Woohoo! Do they impact the logistics and shipping and distribution business? I think you all know that answer, right? With the prices going up of everything, you have to consider the elasticity price of goods. When eggs cost 12 bucks, did the demand go down? So as prices raise, demands typically go down. that's gonna happen in this environment as well. So I talked about the 9 warehouse, the concentration risk of having one tenant in 2.2 million square feet of distribution that is potentially volatile based on today's market. We don't even know if it's gonna do well at Kirby, at the Newland Kirby site. We have no idea how that property is gonna perform. Everything is just that, estimates, as well as the financial plan, the impact analysis, and the economic analysis are all estimates. Everything in there, including the disclaimers by the consultant, says these are estimates. We have no idea what's gonna happen. And nor do you, frankly. We don't know what's gonna happen with the environment. We don't know if things will stall in the project because of everything that's going on, the elements in the economic environment today. So, I thought this was interesting. Fontana bought a $12 million warehouse from a vacant warehouse, non-performing tenant, and they put a homeless shelter in there. We could house a lot of homeless people in 1.1 million. Also, the San Jacinto Commercial Center, that's how many square feet? It's outrageous. It's 514 acres from Sanderson to Cottonwood. What about all the traffic that's gonna generate? How is that Warren Road gonna take that up that end? I know that's San Jacinto's problem, but it will be ours as well. I took a crack at, since I did have the community benefits, at trying to respond in some way to what they are, because I just don't think it's enough. I really don't. The bottom line is $325,000 a year to Hemet. What will that do for us? Maybe you can tell us, Mark. What will it do? How many employees, will that bring back one of your employees that the city laid off, got rid of years ago? Some of the things that we're doing just don't make sense to me. At one point, and I'm gonna throw our city under the bus, and I love it here. 10 years I've been here, I really enjoy the environment. In 2015, we were rated a risk city. I think, Ms. Krupa, you're aware of that? By the state of California and the audit department of the state of California. We earned our way out in 22 by good management. We brought on a good manager. We have good legal representation, a fire chief, a fire police, chief of police. These people all make a difference. One of the things that was missing was community engagement. You guys have walked away from us in this debacle. You walked away from us. You haven't had one town hall. We've invited council members to our clubhouse. No show. I don't get it. You want community engagement? You want to be a risk city? Go for it. One of the things, again, was that we did not engage the community. I just think we need to do a better job. I've offered to you, Mayor, that we are here to help. We'd like to have a community council or something that can make a difference so that when these large projects come in November of 22, we entertain what the real problems are, not just for the city, but for the community and the residents at large. We don't see that happening. I'd love to see that happen. University of Riverside, UC Riverside gave you guys a report in December of last year. The last question was, everything was so scathing about warehouses, about Inland Empire, about the environment, about greenhouse gases, and the labor. The salary was $19.01 an hour as a basis, not $55,000 a year. You can't pay rent here in Hemet on that kind of money. And I would go by the statistics of that versus a developer or someone who wants to come into our city that wasn't even willing to engage us, to have a town hall, to talk to the community, to sell these community benefits. I just don't see it. The inherent risk, again, is having more, having them have 2.2 million square feet. Look at Simon Chu down in Harvard Street. It's not good looking down there. And the guy can't rent places. What is that? So if we have a vacancy in one, what's gonna happen regarding the property? If one is not performing, are they gonna take from the other to perform? Are they gonna be parking the trucks from Newland Kirby at Newland Simpson? We don't really know what's gonna happen with that. So, with that, I'd like to say, the linear street, well, I'll go back to the community benefits. The linear yardage that they're gonna, that's not even 1,000 feet is not even a mile. It's not even a quarter mile, it's 0.19 miles. It's all along the project. I would hope they would improve that area for their employees, the residents, the employees, the tenants, because what are they gonna do? They're not driving out of town. There's nowhere else to really entertain themselves on their breaks and their lunch. Critical. The Hemet sign, I covered that already. The truck route, well, it was one of the main reasons was the route, truck routes, and the Warren Bridge are huge reasons that the Planning Commission denied it. That is not going anywhere. Can't retrofit it. If you do, widen it and only put a new bridge in. What are you gonna do? You've still got a 30-year-old bridge next door. There's so many things to consider that were part of the planning assessment bids that you all have seen. The artwork contribution, $50,000. LA County requires 1% of the assessed value. 1% of 177 million is 1.7 million. That tells me again what they think of Hemet, giving us $50,000. Not 100, not 200, not 500, never 1% would be a lot. That'd be 1.7 million.
Yeah.
But I don't see it. No community outreach, no money. The job fair I think is an excellent idea, but are they committed to hiring people from Hemet? Will we get Rialto to report to us how many people they hired from Hemet?
Ms. Renza,
That's my 15 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't get 45 to do a presentation?
Good job, girl.
It'd have been a lot better had I done that.
Next up, we have Mr. Roy Bales, who has 12 minutes under the
All
covers.
right. My name is Roy Michael Fail. I live in Hemet. Good evening, esteemed ladies and gentlemen. Most of you, I talk to you. I trust you people to make the right decisions.
Can't hear you.
The economic benefit analysis, the only reason they came up with this, and they just printed it out like on March 12th, they paid good money to generate this report because the Planning Commission turned them down unanimously because they saw very limited benefit to the city of Hemet. Well, I've read all through this report. I was laughing so hard I had to put it down. The most laughable thing I saw in the report was that the employee income generated by this project will generate it. Wait a second, how would Dr. Evil say it? $1 billion. Well, that ain't $1 billion. It's not even close. Based on the 2011 people they say they intend to hire, you can immediately subtract about a third of them, since most of that is part-time. Warehouses that are not automated, commercial banks don't see viable monetarily, and they're very hesitant to loan $190 million or some odd dollars for them. Now let's talk about the $1 billion. That is based on what the employees will earn in total, not what they have to spend. You got to subtract taxes, Social Security, if we still have it, mortgage, rent, utilities, card payments, food. I need new glasses. Healthcare, children. You know how expensive children are? Most of them will not live here. The $1 billion is smoke and mirrors. There are 9,500 warehouses in Southern California with an 8% and climbing vacancy rate, which means there are currently 760 empty warehouses in Southern California. One here in Hemet, right up the street from this project. Buy that one. Start work tomorrow, not 2 years from now. Yesterday I drove to my doctor's appointment in Corona and passed row after row of warehouses with empty parking lots. Companies closing stores in Southern California over the next year. Joann's, Kohl's, 7 Rite Aids, Dick's Sporting Goods, Big Lots, Party City, Walgreens is closing a bunch of stores. They way overbuilt. Foot Locker, Advanced Auto Parts, Lumber Liquidators, Forever 21, 99 cents only, and Walmart. Walmart is moving some stores out in Southern California. You can add them to the 760 vacancies we already have. Now, there's a lot of talk about, well, this will give jobs to kids and homeless. Let's talk about the homeless and teenagers that need jobs. Let's do a hypothetical. Let's say you own this project we are talking about. You're going to hire from the pool of 2,000 to 3,000 seasoned warehouse workers that have recently been laid off, with many more to come before this project starts hiring in 2 years or so. Are you going to hire teenagers and homeless people to run your $130 million product? Is that what you would do? Many people run down people that work in fast food as a bad job. I got my start in fast food. I learned teamwork, punctuality, working under pressure, especially during lunch and dinner rushes, working with the public and solving problems in stressful situations. I made manager in a year and instilled those skills and traits in my employees that most successful managers do. I've held many management positions in the last 40 years. When I see one or more years in a fast food on a resume, I take a much closer look at that person applying. Fast food workers have been some of my best employees over the years, and this is in finance, management, and mortgage bankers. I was a senior mortgage banker. I made, because of what I learned in fast food, because I didn't get to go to college. My dad was a sergeant in the Army. Get your son or daughter a job in a fast food, not a warehouse. They will learn actual life and work skills. I don't want this to sound demeaning, but in the first year in a basic warehouse job, where most you do, they don't last a year. Here's their job. You pick up something and put it down somewhere else. What are you learning? They estimate 2,500 plus vehicle trips per day along our roads. Our roads suck. I'm sorry, guys, but they do. Another glaring error in their calculations is the amount of property taxes the city of Hemet will collect each year. Their number is $236,000. Are they aware that that's annexed property and Riverside gets 75% of that? Okay, that drops those numbers down. I went through that quick. Jane covered a lot of what I was going to say. I crossed it all out. Just please, please, please do not approve this project. It's bad for him.
Mr. Ray Johnson.
Yep.
Who has 9 minutes total. Mr. Johnson, are you here? Okay. As Mr. Johnson's coming forward, Mr. Fields made a good point at the end. There's no need to be duplicative of other comments that you have heard. We obviously have a lot of public speakers here tonight. We want to hear all the things that the community has to say, but it is okay to simply say you agree with what someone said before you without spending your whole 3 minutes. Mr. Johnson.
Welcome.
9 minutes.
Thank you for giving us the time to speak out tonight.
Move the mic down.
There we go. We've bombarded you over the last 6 months about traffic, air pollution, greenhouse gases. So I'm not going to talk much about that. But I do want to talk about the environmental impact report because that's what you're here to approve. One of the things that I noticed in the impact report was there was no significant impact on the aesthetics of our community. So imagine this. You all know how big a football field is. Imagine 5 football fields side by side with a 5-story wall around them. That's the small building. How many of you are familiar with the Luxor Casino in Las Vegas? Maybe some of you helped pay for it. The Luxor contains 48.7 million cubic feet. you could pick that up, well, you couldn't, but Superman could pick that up, take it over to the big building here, drop it in, and there'd still be 1.5 million square feet of space empty. That's the kind of building we're talking about. Now, maybe if this building looked like the Luxor, it might be a suitable monument for Hemet, but it's not going to. It's going to look like the monolith on Kirby. The only difference is this complex is going to be 25% bigger than Kirby. And as far as I can tell, my observations, it'll be taller than any building in the city of Hemet, with maybe the exception of Kirby. So I think, you know, versus farmland or a 1.2 million warehouse, I think there's a big difference in the aesthetics. Also mentioned in there was the earthquake safety. It said there was no impact from earthquake because it's at least 5 miles away from any potential fault. Well, if you look at the Hemet city map, it shows that the most active fault in Southern California runs right under the city of Hemet, just a few blocks from here at Florida and San Jacinto Avenue. If you go to the geological survey, you'll find that Hemet has an average of 3 earthquakes a day, 20 a week, approximately 8,000 a year. We've had 3 already in Hemet that were over 6.0. And so we know it only takes 1 of those 8,000 to be significant and cause significant damage. And if you ask your city engineer, if a building moves an inch at the ground level, how much does it move 60 feet high where stuff is stacked in these warehouses? He'll tell you it's about 14 inches. A sudden jump of 14 inches, imagine what's going to happen to all those little robots down there. Or the 1,223 people they're going to hire. They're going to be down there too. But let's get down to the real brass tacks, or as politicians call it, money. That's what this is all about. The developers' financial analysis said they're going to hire not 2,000 or 2,100, but 2,011 jobs in the city of Hemet. And those jobs are going to pay $114 million a year, or $1.14 billion in 10 years. Anybody here know what $1 billion is? I'll tell you. If you spent $1,000 every day for your lifetime, you'd have to live 2,740 years. That's $1 billion. So I think you got to ignore the numbers in this package because they're really out of whack. Here's the first one. In this package that they released to you, they say the average annual warehouse salary is $61,000. Now, all of you, except Tom Lodge, sat here with the Planning Commission and you listened to the researcher from UC Riverside did an exam of this entire industry in Riverside County, and she came back and said only one person in these warehouses, the manager earned more than a living wage. And the living wage was $53,000. That person earned $57,000. Everybody else, if you take, in here they say the average warehouse is $61,000, average warehouse salary. Her study showed that the average warehouse study was $37,000. So you got to decide which number you're going to go with. She also pointed out that the vast majority of the warehouse workers fell below the poverty level. The poverty level is $32,000 a year. And the vast majority of those employees earned less than $32,000 a year. And that was before taxes. You know, the federal government says, well, we'd like to take a little bit for income taxes and a little bit for Social Security and a little bit for Medicare, a little bit for unemployment tax. And of course, the governor says, well, we need some too. So by the time you take that out of there, that 37,000 average goes down to about 31,000. That's below the 32,000 level of the poverty level. One other point I'd like to make on the negative side of things. According to the county planner that I talked to about 3 months ago, he said that when the city annexed this property into the city, they annexed it as agricultural property. And that was in line with the county plans. But now, this warehouse is out of compliance with the city or with the county's land use plan. There's the only thing that is allowed west of Warren, except for one little area that's already pre-planned, is between Warren and California.
Sir, that's your time.
Okay, I just want to close by saying that he said that this is completely out of compliance.
The next speaker is Greg Lansing, followed by Steve Stollenmeyer.
Good evening, council members.